Hey mamas, you're listening to the Balanced Working Mama podcast, the only podcast teaching you how to balance your work, motherhood, and wellness. I am Dr. Amber Thornton, clinical psychologist and mama wellness consultant. Each week we dive into tips and strategies and much more so that you too can become a balanced working mama. Let's dive in. Hey mamas, welcome to the Balanced Working Mama podcast. This is Dr. Amber here. I hope all is well. Y'all, I'm just feeling real good today. I don't know if you can hear the pep in my voice. There's a pep in my step and it's coming through the mic. I don't know. It could be that I got my locks retwisted yesterday. I got a little bit of makeup on. I just finished recording this amazing podcast that y'all are about to listen to right now. I'm just feeling really good. And so I hope that you all are feeling good as well. I continue to be really excited about Balanced Working Mama, the podcast. I love that we are now a part of the Mommy Faceted Network, which features other mom-centered podcasts. I'm so excited about the community growing. Hopefully, y'all caught that we opened the community for a little bit last week. And so we have a few new mamas in the community, and we are really, really, really excited about that. We've got really good things happening at Balanced Working Mama. So I'm glad that you all are here. I hope that you enjoyed today's episode. And so today's episode is about financial wellness. And let me just be very transparent with you. Prior to having this conversation with our guest on the podcast, I had not really very strongly considered financial wellness being a factor that should be included. And it's, I think, and I had this conversation with her on the podcast. I think a lot of it has been, one, I just don't think we often think of finances and money as being a part of our wellness and our well being, but it absolutely is. I think the other part of it is that there is definitely some privilege on my end from not having to think about this. I don't have to think about on a day-to-day basis what's happening with my money or my finances. There was a point in my life where I did, but now at this point I don't. And so I think that absolutely is a huge reason why I neglected to even consider that financial wellness can absolutely make a big impact on a mama's wellness. And so this conversation was so eye-opening for me, and I really needed it. And I'm really happy that we had the conversation. And, it's really making me think, how might I modify our motherhood wellness assessment a little bit to include financial wellness as a part of it? And so something I'm thinking about. I haven't done it yet, but when we do another edit or another version of the motherhood wellness assessment, at that point it would be 3.0 because we're currently on the second version. I do want to add that. And so I thank Tiffany, our guest, so much for really enlightening me, opening my eyes and my perspective a little bit, because sometimes we all need that. We all need someone to kind of help get us out of our own perspective, out of our own shoes, our own bubble, to see the perspective and the experiences of others. So that's what this episode did for me today. And I hope it does the same for you. So enjoy today's episode with Tiffany Burns. She is the founder and creator of The Lotus Legacy, and we are going to be talking about financial wellness today. Okay, I hope y'all enjoy this episode, and let's get into it. All right, mamas, we have a really, really special guest today, and I am so excited to talk to her. She's been on my radar for a while. And we were actually just talking about this before I hit record, how we started talking about collaborating last year. It was literally before the retreat. It was like February, I believe, February of 2021. So I am so excited to have her on the podcast today. Hello, Tiffany.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
No problem. I'm so excited to talk with you. One, because I just really like having conversations with you. I enjoy what you do on social media and Instagram and your work. And I'm excited for this topic because I have never really brought anyone on to talk about this specific topic. And so I'm excited to see how it might correlate with balance and wellness and motherhood. And so I'm first just going to have you introduce yourself, tell us a little about you, your family, your work. Tell us more about you.
All right. I'm Tiffany Burns. I am a personal finance coach and a newly certified mindset coach. So I have certifications in CBT and REBT therapy techniques. So I am a finance coach that also incorporates a lot of mindset into her work so that I can really help mamas create that balance and that wellness in their finances. I am a mother of three. I've been married for almost 10 years this year. Yoga lover. So that's where the inspiration of the Lotus came from my business, because it's, again, I want to bring that financial wellness piece to what it is that I do, because sometimes money can be intimidating and overwhelming. So just really changing how we think and feel about money so that we can create new financial stories.
Yes, I love that. And like, even as you're talking, I'm thinking about how just hearing you say that, it kind of, I don't know, for me, when I talk about money or think about money, it always gives me anxiety. And it doesn't take much to give me anxiety, but just the topics of like money and finance, it really just kind of puts me on edge sometimes. And so even just you like kind of introducing yourself and what you do and why you do it kind of put me at ease a little bit. So again, I'm excited for this conversation. But I first wanted to kind of just ask you, how did your two worlds of like motherhood and like money and finance, how did those first collide for you? How did this even become a thing?
Yeah, so I grew up in a household where we didn't talk about money. My mom didn't talk much about money. I remember the few conversations that we did, it was almost negative, right? Like those kind of money is the root of all evil type conversations. Money is an adult conversation, not for children. So we didn't really grow up in a relationship, having a healthy relationship with money. So going into adulthood, I made a lot of financial mistakes. And after my husband and I got married, we had our first daughter, first kid. She was super spoiled, got everything. I realized that my daughter, like for the first 5 months of her life, never wore the same outfit. I was that bad. Like I would literally bought so many clothes for my daughter. But when I was pregnant with my second child, we were determining whether or not I was going to become a stay-at-home mom or continue working. And then at that point, I was working in retail part-time. So we were just crunching numbers and trying to figure out what made sense. And that's when we realized we were $91,000 in debt. And so at that point, I did some soul searching, right? Like I had this whole video montage of what my life could look like if we didn't make any changes. And, I saw things from my past, like my parents fighting about money and then getting a divorce. I saw that, that could be me and my husband. I saw the financial stress that it would put on our relationship. And then, just always feeling financial stress and never having enough and just being overwhelmed by my finances. Or I could do something different, right? I can learn how to manage my money better, because it wasn't that we weren't making money. We were just spending more money than we were bringing in and not thinking about, not spending intentionally and mindfully at all. And so, I thought about what it is that I wanted. And I thought about, my kids and being able to take them on vacations and, experience things with them. I saw myself paying for their college and, gifting them weddings and, helping them with down payments and creating that generational wealth that people always talk about. And then even past that, me and my husband traveling and having a healthy retirement and a happy retirement without financial stress. And so I saw both ends of the spectrum, what my life would look like if I didn't do anything, and then what it would look like if I did that uncomfortable thing and decided to change. And that's when it really first collided for me is, when I was pregnant with my second child. So a big life event was happening. I was bringing in my second child, and it really forced me to take a look at what was going on.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. And like the thing I just kept thinking about as you were talking is just how motherhood really, for so many of us, is really such a a transformative time, and it also brings other changes too. Like for you, it sounds like you becoming a mom, bringing in your second child, it kind of like put a lot of things into perspective, especially like your relationship with money and finances, and even, how it relates to your upbringing, like just so much kind of put into perspective because of that. And it's so relatable, because I know the one thing that kind of contributes to my anxiety about money and finance is just how different my life is now versus how it was when I was growing up too. So for me, I was raised by my parents, my mom and my dad. They both were working class, and so we always had enough, but there was always that feeling of like it was just enough. You know what I'm saying? And so
Yeah.
it, kind of like a scarcity mindset. I know I hear people saying that all the time, just kind of feeling like, well, this is what we got. We got enough. No, we can't do anymore. And so like, I'm trying to even break out of that too, because I notice it makes me tense. It gives me anxiety. And just, I think motherhood also kind of helped put things into perspective for me about, well, what life do I want? And what does that mean with my relationship with money? I'm also just super impressed with your transparency about debt, because I feel like that's just something that is can be very shame inducing for a lot of people, myself included. I have so much student loan debt, and I have a plan for it, but I don't like to talk about it because it makes me feel embarrassed, and I don't know why, but it just does. And so I appreciate you being, upfront and vulnerable about that being a part of your story.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, and that those are definitely a lot of those negative feelings that we have towards money. A lot of those are deep rooted into our childhood, and we carry all of those things into our adulthood. So we have to work towards, changing that mindset and how we feel about money, so that we can start to have those changes. But as far as like the debt, I had to reframe even the way we look at our debt, especially even student loan debt, right? Your student loan debt, you did that for a reason, right? You went and got your degree, you got your education, and now you're able to use that, everything that you've gotten from that, to help other women. So even reframing how we think about the debt and removing that shame that we have around it, so that we're empowered to do something about it. And, it sounds silly to be grateful for your debt, but even finding some gratitude with the fact that you have the debt that you have now, and knowing that you won't have it forever.
Wow. And I've never heard anybody say it like that. So that's why you are the financial coach with the mindset, because no one has ever said it like that before. Like, I usually hear, not necessarily people really shaming me about it, but a lot of conversation around, well, if you knew better, you would have done better. If you got it now, you can't do anything about it. And that is just, it doesn't feel good. And so I
Right.
love, like, what do you mean if I knew better, I would have I needed to do this in order to get this degree? Because you're right. Because of that, I am where I am now. And I do have a lot of impact and influence. And I love being able to help people in this way. And I don't know if I would have been able to do it like this without my degree.
Yeah.
So I thank you for that. And so it kind of goes into my next question. I wanted to ask you to just describe your role as a financial coach, and how do you help women and mothers with issues like this? And especially because in the beginning, I love that you said that you became certified in that mindset piece. That's a huge part of this. And I never really hear financial coaches talking about that other part. So I guess describe your role as a financial coach and how you help women and mothers.
Yeah, so I got my financial coaching certification in 2019, started my business in 2020, like a lot of entrepreneurs, and since then have been able to help around a dozen women. And I'm super proud of the progress that they've all made. But I've noticed that, while we understand that mindset is important, we weren't always able to really identify what those blocks were and how to really overcome them, and overcome them for good. So it's really important for me to really understand what the mindset blocks, what those limiting beliefs, what those negative thoughts were with my clients, and then really helping them work through it. So as a financial coach, I've recently come up with the tagline, this with my business, this is where mindset and money collide, because we can't do one without the other, right? So in the beginning of our sessions, we're really just talking about mindset, determining, how we got to our money stories, which we kind of talked about here just briefly. But just really identifying, a lot of us have money stories that were inherited from us, and just realizing and recognizing that in itself is empowering to give you the courage to change. And so we do a lot of mindset work to begin with before we even look at, your financial numbers, before we even create a budget. We really take a look at, what is the story that you've inherited, and then let's paint the picture of like what it is that you want to do. So there's a lot of very strategic goal setting, visualization exercises, values assessments. So really taking the whole person into consideration before we even look at any numbers. Because when you think about managing your money, the concepts are, mostly second grade math concepts. So the money management itself is not hard. So the reason why we feel anxious, the reason why we feel overwhelmed, the reason why we feel stuck with our money isn't because we have the inability to do that part. So it really is laying a really strong foundation of mindset and overcoming any of those things that were keeping you stuck, so that you can get to the part where you can manage your money differently.
Yep. And that is so interesting because you're right. It's not hard to manage it. But I think the part that makes it seem hard is the mindset. You are absolutely right about that. And I wanted to ask, because I know so many moms are listening to this and probably thinking like, wow, I didn't even know that I could work with somebody about this. Or maybe they have heard of a finance coach and they just have been hesitant. And so what do you think are the reasons why we are so hesitant to work with someone like you around these issues?
So there's multiple reasons. One, we kind of talked about it, like money being taboo. So we are usually really private and secretive with our finances, and we don't want anyone to know what's going on. Even our good girlfriends, we talk about our sex lives and everything else before we would talk to them about our finances. And so a lot of it is that taboo and that stigma around finances that is keeping a lot of people stuck. But the other part is, financial coaching is still a fairly new industry. So, you might not have known financial coaches before. And so, you might not understand what it is that they do. And there's a lot of financial coaches out there which have different specialties. So it could be a little bit overwhelming and difficult to figure out who to work with. But it is an option that is available to you if you feel like for some reason something's not working. Is it the math part? Is it, actually building the budget? Is it the mindset part? Is it learning about the investments, or figuring out how to plan for your retirement? Understanding that there are people who are out there that are trained and able to help you move past whatever barriers you have right now.
I love it. And, I guess how would we know that we would need to work with a financial coach? Like, at what point would need to be, or like, what are some of the signs that are good indicators of like, oh, it might be time for me to consider working with a financial coach?
Yeah. So if you aren't making any progress with your money, if it's early in the year, so, people are still fresh off of resolutions and intentions for the year. And if for several years you've put, fixing my finances on your list, or, doing better with my money, or whatever your financial goals, if you've put that on your list for multiple years without seeing any real progress, then that's a very big red flag that it might be time for you to get some additional support. And so that would probably be the biggest thing, is if you get to a certain point and you keep getting stuck and just aren't making any progress, then I would recommend that you go in and ask for help from somebody. I think a big misconception is that you have to have a lot of money to work with a financial coach. And I tell my clients, if I can't figure out where in your budget and where in your lifestyle we can figure out the money to pay my fee, then I'm not doing my job. But you also have to look at the big picture. We're making a short-term investment to get a lifetime result and transformation. So I think another misconception is that people think that you have to have a lot of money to work with a financial coach, and you do not.
I think that was a huge misconception I've had for a long time. um, Yeah, I just realized that as you said that, because I think in 2020, my husband and I worked with one for the very first time. And when we started doing it, in my head, I was like, oh, so we have enough money for this. And like that has just always been my belief, like, oh, we can work with one now because we have the money to do so. But I'm so glad you said you don't, that's not really it. You don't have to have a lot of money. And I love that, like you said, your job, your role is to help them find the money to get this done, so that the long term, there can be more changes and more movement in terms of their financial goals.
Yes, exactly. And I
Mhm.
do want to just clarify really quickly. So there's a lot of different finance professionals. So there's a financial coach, which is what I am. And your financial coach is someone that's helping you with your day-to-day financial money management. So think about budgeting your money, saving money, putting money towards debt, or even helping you find the money that you can use towards your investments. And then you have a financial advisor. And a financial advisor's main role is to help you grow your money. So you go to your financial advisor and you say, I have, $1,000 a month that I want to invest. They will help you pick the best investments for yourself. And then there's a financial planner. A financial planner is somebody who's going to look at your long-term, midterm goals and give you a holistic plan. So they're not just looking at your investments, they're looking at your life insurance, they're looking at your estate plan, they're looking at every area of your finances. If you have young kids, how to plan for them. If you have parents that you want to care for, they'll help you look at everything. So the financial planner will also help you with a more holistic long-term and midterm goal plan. And so again, the financial coach is really just helping you with those day-to-day finances. And I think that's important to mention, because that's where a lot of people need to start. So before you go to your financial advisor, the first thing that they're really going to ask you is how much you have to budget for this investment. And so if you don't have a handle on your day-to-day, then it's really going to be hard to understand what you have to invest and do all those other things. And then even with the financial planner, it's good to make sure that you're starting off with that really solid foundation before you go to those next professionals.
Thank you for differentiating that, because I did not know the difference. And I think I've heard all of those, I don't, those terms or the labels, but I didn't know there was a difference. I think I've always used them interchangeably. So thank you for that. And as you were saying, like the financial coach is more really well suited to help with the day-to-day finances. And so that just made me think that would be perfect for like a first-time mom or a new family, like bringing in a whole other kid or another kid, two more kids, like whatever it is, because I know that, my experience, and I know this is the experience of a lot of other mamas too, like when you are planning for a baby or planning to grow your family or you become pregnant, one of the first things you think about is like, whoo, where's this money coming from? Like, I remember feeling so scared about that. Like with my first one, like, okay, we got to pay for daycare. Like, where is this extra 3,000 something dollars going to come from per month? Like, how is it going to work? And then we got another. And so I know that that is a big thing for millennial mamas right now, because millennial women are having babies right now. Many of us are choosing to have babies and grow families. And so finances are really important to us, especially those day-to-day ones. And so I guess with that, I want to ask you, what are some of the top lessons that you really hope to teach mothers about money in the work that you do?
Yeah. So, like I said at the beginning, it really is, your finances are part of your overall wellness. So if your finances are, disorganized, if your finances aren't where you want them to be, you usually, like you said earlier, you feel anxious, you feel stressed, you feel overwhelmed, you don't have that sense of peace. And so I want you to know that, taking care of your finances is part of your wellness. So it's really important to make sure that you prioritize your finances in your life and not just pass them off on your partner, which is what, a lot of women that I know do. If you are in a relationship, if you are married, it ultimately is really unfair to your partner to just have all of that dumped on them, especially as moms. Listen, I love my husband. He is really good at making a budget, but he had no idea how many diapers we needed. Didn't know how much formula we we needed and how much the cost of camps and all of those other little expenses were. So it's really important for us to lend our voices and our opinions and our desires in those conversations and not let our partners take over for us. It's really important for us to create, we always talk about having a seat at the table. It's really important for us to pull up our seat at this table and feel empowered to be part of those conversations. So I think that those would probably be the biggest two things. And it's really, again, it's not as difficult as we thought it was, right? The math itself is second grade math, and we can do that. It's going to be more about shifting your thoughts and beliefs about money and what's even possible for you so that you can create that lasting change.
Wow. This was so good. This is so good. I'm really excited about mamas listening to this and it kind of sparking something for them in terms of their financial wellness. And honestly, I think that I have a motherhood wellness assessment, and in it there's 9 areas of wellness. You're making me want to add a 10th area for financial wellness because I love that. And again, it wasn't something that I had considered before talking to you, just about how financial wellness is so important, and it absolutely should be a part of how we're thinking about our well-being and our wellness as mothers. So thank you for all of this. Is there anything else that you think it would be good for us to know about mindset, about money, about finances, anything else we should know?
I just really want us to know that we are in control of so much more than we give ourselves credit sometimes. And we think that, again, we feel anxious and overwhelmed, so we kind of completely avoid our finances. But again, it's totally part of your wellness. And it's really important for you to get behind the wheel and take control of your finances so that you really can create the life that you want to live. I was listening to one of the previous episodes that you did, and you were talking about, working out in front of your kids and doing things in front of your children. And this is another example of that. My kids are growing up with the understanding of budgeting and, how to manage their money. So when we go to Target, they ask if they could take their money and learn how to spend it, right? So it's also creating those healthy relationships just, by leading by example. So we're also impacting our children and others around us when we take control of what we're doing with our money.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Thank you so much for that. And I just got that visual of like your kids asking to take their money and like, oh, that is so adorable. And I cannot wait.
Yes.
So my kids get old enough. It's so funny. Like my son right now, every now and then will say like, oh, we've run out of, like, let's say raisins, and we need to buy some more. And so like, he'll be like, oh, we don't have raisins. Do you need to buy some? Like, yes, I need to buy some.
Yeah.
So that is his understanding of money right now, is that we need to buy something. But I love that, your children are growing up and understanding just the idea of budgeting and, what it means to pay for something. And I love that. I love that. So it sounds like you're doing a really great job. How can mamas connect with you if they are inspired by what they heard today, if they want to consider working with you, if they want to just follow along? How can they connect with you?
Yeah, so the best way to connect with me is on Instagram. I love Instagram. I loved it before I had a business. I love it even more now. So you can connect with me on Instagram at The Lotus Legacy. And if you don't have Instagram, you can check me out on my website. It's lotuslegacyllc.com. And I'm sure Amber will put that in the show notes. But I'd love to hear from you if you listened to this and this was helpful for you at all. Shoot me a DM and, just let me know that you heard it. I'd love to hear any feedback that you have.
Love it. Well, yes, we will absolutely put your information in our show notes. Thank you so much for coming on and talking with us today. I know this will be super helpful for the mamas, and so we appreciate you.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Hey, Mama. Thank you for listening to the Balanced Working Mama podcast. If you love this podcast, please be sure to rate it and share it with another mama that you know. And don't forget to follow me and Balanced Working Mama on Instagram. I'll talk to you soon.